Welcome back to another Supercoach video. You were joining me, JD, for the round 15 review. As you can see, not a bad week for me. 2450 and above, very good. I think 2450 was about par for those in the top 1000. It has seen me move up 43 ranks to 772. And we are ready to do the final upgrade for the team this week. Some will have already completed their team. Others will also be in the same boat of getting that final upgrade in this week. So let's just jump straight into it. There's not a lot of hot topic issues. I'm still trying to do my first video in under 15 minutes this week. So let's hope that this is the one. All right, sorry, the team. Firstly, my trade last week was Jones to Edwards. I mean, Edwards was not a good rookie. I guess I should have just taken 102k option instead. Playing him out of position hasn't worked. But the thing for me was I thought there was a pretty decent chance that Coleman and Waitman could turn into 102k rookie and Dangerfield. But after Coleman and Dangerfield play, I think I needed something like Waitman to score 52 based on Bryce Mitchell's projection. So shout out to him on Twitter. If he helped me out with a little bespoke answer this week, which was very nice of him. Yeah, if he was doing that for everyone, he wouldn't have any time for himself. So yeah, shout out to him and thanks. But yeah, I thinking about it, I was like, do I trust a rookie after the year that's been to score me 52 points and be able to make sure that I could do that trade and have 3 trades left over? And I said to myself, like, there's just no way. And I'd rather have Dangerfield the week early. Or the week earlier, because, you know, if I couldn't do it with 2 trades this week and I hadn't banked any cash, then I have to wait another week. It just would have been a nightmare. So yeah, went and did Jones out to Edwards, and so while Edwards wasn't good, I don't really care. For me, it's much more about just being able to get the Dangerfield trade done this week, and I think that, you know, that hindsight's going to show that was the right move. Okay, so then just going line by line, defenders. I mean, Laird, what could have been here? I think he was on 60 at quarter time. He was still on 99 at three-quarter time. And, like, yeah, just he finished the game on like a 103 or 104 and got scaled to 109, which is a little bit fortunate. It's a good score, but it's just disappointing. Stewart had his first really stinky game, and he was undisciplined, and he was frustrated. I wouldn't expect any more of these, but yeah, that's bad. Lloyd was just not good this week as well, like terrible defender. I guess the thing though is like all these three, none of them are really unique. Most people have these, like I'm talking 70 to 80% plus ownership for those in the top 1000. So yeah, some will get an advantage by not owning like a Stewart or a Lloyd, but it just really doesn't matter much. Whitfield's the gift that's going to keep giving. He looked amazing. When I turned on the bits and pieces of that game that I did see, he was just gut running like no one else. He was the only one trying once. After the first quarter, the Hawks did an amazing job of stopping all GWS ball movement and run. I don't know whether they stopped it or whether the players just gave up. I don't know what it was. But Whitfield was the only one, the only spark in that team that was actually moving the ball, attacking aggressive spots. And he got burnt, but it didn't matter. He kept doing it. He was amazing. So, yeah, great little 116. Short and Ridley, after getting so much ire the last month, basically, from us umming and ahhing over, like, well, are these guys even premiums from here on out? They've both bounced back. I think that's Ridley's second 111 game in a row, and Short went 111 last week, or last game he played, and then 101 this week, which is great. I think for Ridley, we're seeing some really positive signs, not only that he looks a little bit more like his old self, but he's also starting to get those kick-outs again too. And now he could have also had a bigger game, a bit like Laird, where he started off really strong. I think it was like 50 quarter time and kind of just finished on the 111, but that's still really strong. And, you know, we kind of didn't expect much more than this. Like, we'll take 110s all the way out from here. Highmore was really good cover this week. Some people were tossing about like whether or not you should bench Ridley for him. Glad I didn't. It would have been, I guess, in hindsight, I could have with Stewart, but yeah, anyway. And then Bianco, like, yeah, I was really hoping he'd be like defender and mid cover, but after his last couple of games and the high half forward role in a average team, just not going to be good enough cover. So I really want to keep Highmore and Edwards. I mean, maybe Edwards isn't the right answer, but yeah, this just scares me. At least the thinking was like Edwards would be better cover than Bianco. In the midfield, King Bont keeps on doing what he does. He's now up to almost a 130 average for the season, 710k price tag. Nuts. He's absolutely going insane. And he was going to be my captain option this week, but you just have to take a 132 from Jack Steele, right? Like, you can't pass it for 132. So, missed out on 20-something odd points there, but it is what it is. He just doesn't look like he'll stop. I don't know why teams aren't putting more defensive work or tagging into him. I can't answer the question, but he's phenomenal, and he looks like he's playing for a Brownlow. He's averaged, I think, well over 130 as well since he's been in my team. Just phenomenal. McRae getting overshadowed big time at 137 is nothing to sneeze at, but it's like, every time he put in a good quarter, Bont's already there with another 20 on him. Steele was really good. Led well in the midfield, tackled really hard. I think it was another one of these games where he had like 9-10 tackles. Was pretty good with the balls, but very, very solid effort from Steele. Oliver, a bit of a down game, I must say. Not really what I expected. He seemed to be fairly well neutralised by Essendon. Like, there was parts in the game where he got into chains, got into dangerous positions, but just not nearly as much as what we were seeing a month ago. Like a 105 for a down game, you take those all day. Merritt with a 147. This is really pleasing to see. Who was it? Cripps, of course. Merritt and Cripps, both from the same draft year, and they've both signed like deals that take them through to 2027 at their club, probably on quite similar money. And I'll tell you what, Merritt's performance after signing that contract makes me think that no one told him that the deal was done. He still looks like he's playing for contract. It's amazing. I'm not sure after Cripps' effort today you could say the same. But to be fair to Cripps, I still think he's playing injured and they need to rest him. But like chalk and cheese between the two. Lachie Neale in 98. This is a positive and a negative 98. I mean, obviously, after the last week's 150 and in a Lions win, you were thinking that we'd get another big score this week. But the injury, quite bad looking injury to his shoulder early on, where it was most likely dislocated. I actually don't know if they ever reported what it was, whether it was a AC or a dislocation. I'm guessing it was a dislocation based on how quickly he came back out from the rooms. But it's really strong that he finished off the game and obviously wasn't like subbed straight out, because it means there's a chance he plays again this week. But this 98 could have been a lot bigger if he wasn't injured. I am, obviously hoping that he's okay to play this week. But, that's a bit frustrating that we time trading him in well. He looked good, and then a pretty unlucky shoulder injury. I think he did have problems with his shoulders back in Freo as well, so that does concern me a little bit. Walsh was the 131. This is pretty interesting because I think both Laird and him were on 99 at three-quarter time that game, and Walsh went on to finish really strong, which is what we expect from the running machine. This is like part of the reason why we liked him as a pick, as the longer season, compared to the 2020 shorter season. Like, this is a longer season, both in terms of the length of games, but also the length or the number of games played in the year. We thought that like Walsh's endurance base, despite being a younger player, would really benefit him through the back half of the year. So starting to see that pay off a little bit with some 130s. Then we got Andy Brayshaw with a 110. I think he was the only Freo Docker to actually ton up despite them winning, and he only barely made it with a 110. He was pretty good for the most part. Was in and out of the game a little bit, and definitely had some moments that weren't his best. But pleasing to get a 110 out of what is essentially my worst midfielder. Pretty happy with that. The Hawks rookies were all right in the end. They actually were scoring not very well early on, played pretty poorly, but then kind of came alive as the game was on the line, got some 50s, which is nice. And Edwards, as I mentioned, playing him out of position, no good. The rucks, Gawn 103, Draper handled him pretty well. Essendon managed him pretty well around the ground. Still managed to clunk some good marks, getting some dangerous positions, but a bit like Oliver, a bit of a down game for him. So, I think good chance he bounces back this week against GWS, I want to say they play. Maybe they bring in Mummy, but I would have thought that Gawn would still, run him into the ground. So, we'll see what happens there. And then Grundy at 135 on return. He looked pretty good too. Definitely didn't look like he missed a beat. So very, very pleased with that as a holder. I'm sure any other holders would be loving the 135. And it definitely hurts those that traded him a little bit as well, because he's just not going to drop in price as much as he otherwise would have. And then Callum Coleman Jones, that's a mouth twister. 67, that's all right. He looked dangerous early, but just, marks just didn't stick. Goals just weren't finished. They've got Gold Coast this week. I would expect a nice little score from him off the back of that too. Going through the forwards quickly, Aaron Hall, this is his first time he's gone under 100 in that new roll down back, and the first time under 100 in my team. Is this because of McDonald's return? I didn't watch enough of the game to get a good read on this. I have a feeling, though, from the parts I did saw, McDonald was playing higher up anyway. It's just the ball wasn't in North's backline that much. Like, they had a pretty easy game against Gold Coast, to be honest. And against the Gold Coast, you'd expect to be fired up. You also see that reflected in Zeebel's score with just the 98. Langford 103, this is very surprising. He was tracking for maybe a 70 or 80 for most of the game, and then had a 50-60 point last quarter. From what I saw, he was matched up on Petraka for most of the game, and Petraka just doesn't have the tank to be a full-time midfielder yet. During crunch time in that game, he was parked full forward rather than being on the ball. And Langford, who'd kind of been scoring just so, but was matched up and probably doing a lot of defensive work on him around the ground throughout the game, he was able to keep running and racked up a lot of pill as a result in the fourth when the game, when Essendon was making little mini comebacks. So I didn't really think it was a 103 game, but I'm very happy to take it. Dusty with the 94. Yeah, another one of those games where, if Tigers won, this could have been a much larger score, but I think this is what we have to expect from Dusty to here on out. 90 to 100 kind of range. Obviously, you get scores set outside of that, but that's where his average is going to be. And as long as he's consistent and healthy, take that. Dale, a bit like Langford, he was on track for another pretty poor game, but his fourth quarter saved him, managed to get up to 96, which is good. Given forwards this week, you take what you can kind of get in that regard. And then Waitman, my last rookie, and 40's pretty disappointing. Briggs was better in hindsight, but there's just no way of loopholing them together. And, I would have rather had Colton Jones, but no way to get him on the field this week. So, I guess the big thing for me from here on out is how do you move up the ranks from here? My feeling is that the top 1,000, it's really close. It's really quite tight between 1,000 and 300, 200, kind of that range. All still pretty jam-packed, probably only a few hundred points in it. So moving up is going to be quite hard. I feel like a lot of the teams are basically all finished and all really good. A lot of common players as well. So for me, the difference on whether or not I finish really strong and end up top 300 or out of 1,000 is going to be two things. So what are your fringe players like? And then what are the injuries that we get from here on out? And so by fringe players, I mean, in defense, I would rather have Mills than one of my defenders. In the midfield, I'd probably rather have another one of Lyons or a Parrish or a Took Miller instead of a Walsh. And in the forward line, I'd rather have a Zorko than a Langford or a Dale or something like that. So any teams that basically have less of those fringe players and instead has another super primo, they're the ones that are going to move up. The rest of us are going to be somewhat reliant on can the Brayshaws of the world, can the Langfords of the world keep up a reasonable enough score that keep you intact or don't hurt you. And then I guess the other thing is most of us have 1 to 2 suspect forwards. Toby Green, Hawkins, Langford, Dale, Bolton, all examples of these forwards that have shown stretches of premium scoring, but also have dropped in 50s, 60s, dud games in as well. So if we all have 1 or 2 of those, but the 1 or 2 we have is all different, then depending on which one of those comes home strong, I think that could end up being a really big deal as well. So you look at Tom Hawkins having a really good fixture coming up. They've got their hard games out of the way. That's pretty scary as a non-owner. That yes, he's had some bad games, but his run from now is really good. So things like that could be the difference as well, on whether or not you move up or down. And then of course injuries, which we'll jump into a second. There's 2 injuries worthwhile talking about this week, but how many injury trades you've got left is going to be a big deal. That if someone goes down with a long-term injury and you can't cover it properly, or you can't get a good trade, and as a result, you could see yourself lose ranks. But really, we probably won't see that play out until close to the end. I don't think big injuries are going to break teams until round 20. It's not really going to happen around 16. So I think those are going to be the kind of the deciding factors, and part of this depth comes into play. So if you get a 1 weeker, so say I don't know, McRae's out for 1 week, basically everyone has McRae. who you have as cover is really going to matter as to whether or not you go up or down. My Waitman 41 this week was outdone by Madden, it was outdone by Briggs, it was outdone by Colin Jones. So there's 20, 30 points, just based on that. And yes, 20, 30 points is not normally, well, over the course of the year, it's not a big deal. But when we're at this point where it's finished teams, there's only 300 points for about 700 ranks, then 30 points actually starts mattering a lot, especially if it's 30 points each week. Okay, so my final upgrade for the year is, of course, going to be Dangerfield. He has slowly been building back into it, another almost 100, despite looking very, very average for, I must say, most of the game. It was not a particularly great game, but he's almost at that point where he's match fit. As I mentioned, with Hawkins, their draw opens up now, so I like Essendon this week, and I'm sure they've got a bunch of other easy teams coming up, which, regardless of whether they're putting him more forward or playing him through the midfield, should be good for his scoring. And just given the lack of other great forward options, I think Danger at sub 500k is very hard to go past. So the other trade I'm planning to do is, well, it was going to be getting rid of Highmore, but I think I want Highmore. So I might get rid of Bianco. I'm not sure on this yet. I'm not sure. So then, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I think Briggs goes back, and then we get looking for Edwards. So 102k forward ruck from North that was picked up mid-season draft. And this way I can now loophole CCJ as a cover between the ruck and the forward line, which is pretty handy. I guess the somewhat annoying thing is I don't really want to have McRae here. I'd much rather have him in my midfield. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't think I can solve that. The one thing that I don't like about my cover, my cover, is just there's not enough DPP. So yeah, that's a little bit annoying. But I think this is the trade. I don't know. Do I want to get rid of Highmore and have his money? Just have slightly worse rookie cover? I might. So the reason why this matters is for a 1 week injury, right? Having Highmore instead of Bianco might be really important because it could be 40, 50 points if Highmore puts a 90 and Bianco puts a 40 to 50. So if you have a 1 week injury, say Short gets rested or Whitfield gets rested because of his liver, whatever, being able to play Highmore over Bianco might be really big for that 1 week, right? But say we have an injury and someone like a Brayshaw goes down. Now, Brayshaw's bottom price is in midfield of 520k. I don't want to use my last 2 trades on upgrading Brayshaw to someone really good. So, at the moment, I can only do Brayshaw plus 33k. I'm looking at a 550k mid. Let's, for argument's sake, who's there at 550k that I don't have? Because, Walsh is a good option, obviously, at that price range. Let's use the filter. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting this under 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Whoops. So who we got here? Petrarca I don't really want. Selwood I don't want. Muddy I don't want. Lib I don't want. Keys has been great. Probably still don't want him. Ranto, no. So this is the problem. So if Brayshaw gets injured, I'm side swapping him to another midfielder I don't really want. But if instead of doing Bianco, I get rid of Highmore instead. Maybe I picked a really bad example and this is going to illustrate the point, but hopefully it does. Alright, so now I've got 91k to work with instead. So if I had to trade Brayshaw, I'm now looking at 610k. And all of a sudden I've got much better options. So I could get a Tom Mitchell, I could get a Kelly. It still drops away pretty quickly, but Mitchell, Wines, and Kelly are all substantially better than any other options I was looking at. So this is the decision for me this week, and something you should keep in mind as well. Do I rate having slightly better cover or that extra cash so that if an injury trade does need to happen, I've got the money to put them to someone good? Another way you could be looking at this is, say Neil went down with the 33k I had. him, we're looking at once again these kind of options. But if I have 90k on the 575, all of a sudden I think I can, get like a Parish or a Lions or something like that. Although they may be out of reach now as well. Yeah, no, I could still get Lions. Where are you, Parish? Did you have a good week? It wasn't that good, was it? Better way to do this. Actually, he's probably outside of the filter, which is why I can't see him. No, that's not it either, I don't think. Oh no, he's out of the filter. There you go. But you kind of get the point, which is with this extra cash, it does mean that sidewaysing it becomes a little bit better for an injury, because instead of putting your M8 to another midfielder you don't really want, you can actually get them into someone quite good that you missed out on. So yeah, maybe I have to get rid of Highmore, which is quite sad. I think he's a really good chance of getting a lot more money, but you just don't need the money anymore. The cover's probably not as important. Like, Briggs and Bianco is good enough for defense. So yeah, all right. So let's just say these are my trades for now. That might change, but I think the point is that Dangerfield's the target. I'm just weighing at whether I want cash or slightly better rookie. And then this looks like the setup's pretty good. And yeah, as I mentioned, like this being able to now swap Coleman Jones between the two for where I want the cover is really handy. That's no good. All right, so then vice captain, captain. The fixture has been announced, but it's not in Supercoach. So off the top of my head, the Dogs game's actually last, and they play North. Midfielders have been going off against North Melbourne, and even though Gold Coast won on the weekend, I know Took Miller still had a great game as well. Like, honestly, the premium mids are averaging well over 130 against North, so it's really hard, especially after this week, not to do it like a Bont or McRae as your captain. And then for vice captain, it would have been Neil, because they have a really nice matchup against Crows. Once again, Crows been giving up some big scores to midfielders. So yeah, would have liked Neil there, but the shoulder has me worried a little bit. Other games that somewhat intrigue me are Carlton against Fremantle. I actually think either of these are somewhat nice choices. I don't really like picking one of the SM midfielders against Geelong. Like, they could go big, but you've got the O'Connor tag, which could definitely go to someone like a Merritt. Steele, I think their game clashes around when the Dogs play, so it's not really going to work. And I just have to look at, when my loopholes are active. Oh no, I've got Edwards, so that'll be last game. All right, well, that's handy having Edwards. I can BC whenever. So just quickly, other vice captain options. Jared Lyons, if you've got him. If Neil's on a little bit down. Zorko coming off a big game. If you want to do a little bit of a risky option, once again against the Crows, like, that's pretty nice. What else do I like? I wouldn't do any of the Geelong players. I would consider actually some of the Melbourne people against GWS. But yeah, like not a ton of set options for me. I really like Bont this week. But yeah, that's where the team's at. So slowly moving up the ranks as it currently stands. 91k, 2 trades. Oh, how could I forget injury talk? Sorry. So yeah, with Neil, obviously, if he's playing or just missing 1 week, you hold, don't trade. You just have to, deal with that the best way you can. With Impey, I'm leaning towards trading him no matter what. So they're waiting to see exactly what happens with his injury, whether it needs to be season-ending surgery or whether they can try and manage him throughout the year. But with like Will Day coming on, but his best game probably he's played for the Hawks was today, and Impey having a serious enough injury that it could be season-ending surgery. I'm pretty worried about him scoring anyway. I would be looking to move him on. But yeah, doubly so, of course, if he goes in for the surgery. But I think Neil should be fine. Impey has to go. And yeah, so that's my team. We are cruising. We're fully upgraded and we're ready to go. There's, a few players that we'd like to have, but we don't. But, can't always pick all of them. It's just the way it goes. So let me know how you're going, if your team's complete, what your last upgrades are, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.